Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some Entitled Parents. Before we start, did you know that KCC now has a Shorts channel? Check out KCC Shorts listed at the top of the description down below for under 1 minute Ask Reddit questions and answers and short stories. Our first story today comes to us from Limina Ninja. An entitled parent accuses a taxi driver of being the reason why his precious adult child passed out drunk and missed her curfew. Let's jump right in. This is a situation my father had in 2013. He was a taxi driver for years, and after this happened, he immediately quit and became a truck driver. It was Saturday night. It was well past midnight, so already Sunday, around 3 a.m. My dad had just driven one person home when the dispatcher called him. 3:03 a.m., my dad receives the destination and fare. Disco club, 2 women, one of them Anna. 3:08 a.m., my dad's at the entrance to the club. 3:12 a.m., 2 girls enter my dad's car, one of them Anna, around 25 years old, both, and also both drunk as heck. Anna gives 2 addresses to my dad, first her apartment building, then her friend's house. 3:20 a.m., the car is at the first address. The other girl says that she has money to pay the full fare, so Anna leaves the car. She's very drunk and insecure on her feet. There's no light at the entrance to Anna's apartment building. My dad uses the headlamps of his car to shed light at the entrance to Anna's building so that she can find the keys, open the door, and so on. This is a common practice among taxi drivers. Always make sure that a woman arrives at the destination safe and sound. 3:25 a.m., the car leaves the first address and heads for the second. 3:32 a.m., the car arrives at the second address. In the meantime, the second girl passed out. If there wasn't for this first stop, the total time to drive from the club to the second address would be less than 10 minutes, by the way, and it's relevant for the later events. 3:33 a.m., my dad leaves his car, locks all the doors, and enters the courtyard. This is also a standard procedure. If your fare is unconscious, and even more so if the fare is a woman, do not touch her. If you are at her destination, call someone from there to pick her up and pay for the fare. If there's no one at the destination to help you with her, call the ambulance or police. So my dad knew that it was Saturday night, that they were at a disco and had a lot of drinks, and he had no reason to call the emergency, at least not before he tries to get help from a family member. 3:34 a.m., he rings at the house doors. 3:36 a.m., the girl's father opens the door. "Who are you, and what the hell are you doing here at this hour?" "I'm sorry to wake you up, sir, but I'm a taxi driver and I've just driven your daughter home." "My daughter, where is she?" "She's in the car, passed out. Please bring her in and put her to sleep. She'll be sober in a few hours." "But she's more than 1 hour late. She should have been here around 2. "Sir, I received the call from the disco club at around 3 a.m., dropped her friend off along the way, and here I am now, with your daughter passed out in my car. Please come to the car to take her in and to her bed." "What did you do to her?" Still standing at the doorstep and accusing. "Nothing. I drove her here, home, to you. I'm a taxi driver. That's what I do." "But my daughter doesn't drink much. She would never allow herself to be so drunk as to pass out in a stranger's car." "Sir, she and her friend were already drunk when they entered my car at the club, and I'm not a stranger. I'm a taxi driver." "She must have been given something." "Sir, I don't know anything about it. I received the call around 3 to pick up your daughter and her friend at the club. You should ask your daughter about it in the morning when she sobers up. Please come and take your daughter out of my car and settle the fare. Tomorrow, you can speak to her and her friend who'd confirm everything I said. She called me around 1:30 and she didn't sound drunk at all. She told me she'd be home by 2, and 2 hours later, she's unconscious on your back seat." "I received the call from the club only at around 3 a.m., sir. You can ask your daughter tomorrow when she wakes up what happened at the club between 2 and 3 a.m. But right now, you should bring her in. I'm not allowed to have any physical contact with my fare, and she can't get out of the car by herself." "You're obviously lying because you're telling me you needed a half an hour to get here from the club." "What? I never said that." "Yes, you did. You said you picked up my daughter and Anna at 3 a.m., and now it's past 3:30. I received a call from the club at 3 a.m. and picked them up at 3:10 or later, and I also dropped Anna off at her address along the way here. Sir, my car has a GPS tracker, and you can check my locations at any given time during my shift. You can call my dispatcher and ask her for the timestamps. She'll send it to you first thing after I've made sure my fare has safely arrived at her destination. No, she hasn't safely arrived at the destination. She's unconscious on your back seat. Because she's had too much to drink, sir, before she entered my vehicle. That's not my fault or responsibility. I would have helped her out myself if I could, but I'm not allowed to touch my fare. As I said, my daughter would never have too many a drink by herself. I want to know what was given to her. Then bring your daughter in into bed, and in a few hours when she sobers up, ask her what happened at the club or in my car. Ask Anna and my dispatcher as well. But right now, I need your daughter out of my vehicle before she throws up or something. I'm not going to contaminate a possible crime scene. Sir, there's no crime scene in my cab, only your daughter who needs help to get out of the vehicle and into her bed. She'll be fine after some sleep. She's not the first fare to pass out in my cab during the ride home. It happens and it's not a big deal. The important thing is that she's home safe and that you can check the last 30 minutes of my shift if you want, with no problem whatsoever. Now please help your daughter out of my car. I'm calling the police, sir, you know. Please do. 10 minutes later, there were 2 policemen at the door. In the meantime, the lovely daughter on the backseat of the cab made a huge mess all over the place. She emptied her bladder on the seat and threw up on the floor and back seat and all over herself. The policeman called my dad's dispatcher and in less than 1 minute established that my dad was totally innocent and that he did the right thing by asking the fare's father to help him with the passed out woman. They told the father to bring the daughter in and then told him to leave my dad alone. The man was furious, but had to do what they told him. However, the story didn't end there. 2 days later, my dad's boss received a call from the entitled parent. The boss already knew what happened that night. I demand the fare I had to pay refunded, as I'm going to press charges against your driver. On what account, sir? For molesting my daughter. I've already spoken to my lawyer. Feel free to do that, sir. I hope your lawyer informed you of the fact that we have timestamps for the vehicle in question, and that the entire case can fire back on you hard, sir. My daughter doesn't even remember that they called a taxi, and that she ever entered your car. Your daughter's loss of memory is irrelevant, sir, as the video surveillance at the entrance to the club confirmed that your daughter willingly entered the vehicle with her friend at 3:12 a.m. on Sunday. And I'm sure you already know that your daughter's friend herself called our dispatcher from her mobile phone. My lawyer told me that your drivers are responsible for their fares and their well-being while they're in your cars. Exactly. And the only thing my driver did wrong was ringing at your door instead of calling the police immediately. He didn't want your daughter to spend a night in prison to sober up and wanted to avoid an embarrassing situation for her, so he made a mistake and asked you to help your daughter out of the car. I'm gonna sue your butts for this. Be my guest, as I already said. And for the record, we're not going to refund the fare. We'll send you a fat invoice for the car cleaning services and for the 24-hour loss of our vehicle and fares we lost thereby. Indeed, it happened as announced by both parties. The entitled parent sued the company and lost epically. The company won, and the invoice at the end of the story was even fatter, and now included legal costs and all possible fines the judge could add to it to teach the entitled parent an important lesson about responsibility and false accusations and disrespect. My dad decided to become a truck driver, as truck drivers never have to deal with drunk fares or entitled parents. OP, your dad put up with that guy for a lot longer than I would have. I would have just walked back after I realized that this guy wasn't really going to play ball. I would have walked back to the car, stayed outside of the car, and called the police right then and there. If you've got somebody that's being that accusatory towards you, it's just not worth dealing with them. Bring in the professionals, let them deal with it. That's what they're paid to do. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from Spoder Queen 99, entitled Mother, the Story of Karma. Let's jump right in. A friend of mine told me this story because they don't have Reddit, but still wanted me to share this long but crazy story about her sister who is currently still dealing with sister-in-law problems. Let's name her Ella for safety. I will be writing this in her point of view. Backstory: my name is Ella and I'm currently 28 years old. And 7 years ago, I married my wonderful husband Jake. But there's a catch. My sister-in-law has been trying to take the spotlight ever since I first became his friend. My husband and I have been childhood friends, and we both talked about anything that was on our minds. And as long as I can remember, my husband's sister, I'll call her Heather, always wanted all the attention on her. Once Jake and I were in middle school, Heather had just graduated high school and had their parents throw an extravagant graduation party just for her. Heather and all her friends trashed the entire house, but her parents brushed it off as kids will be kids. Yes, they actually said that, and had a maid clean the entire house. Basically, Heather got away with a lot of petty stuff, and her parents always enabled it cause they're rich. Well, not crazy rich, but they were wealthy enough to have a big house and 3 luxury cars. Anyway, when we were in high school, Jake and I started dating and eventually got into a serious relationship. His parents loved me and showered me and Jake with affection and gifts. But Heather immediately got jealous of our spotlight and desperately wanted to take it. So she came up with a plan to make herself pregnant with a stranger she met on social media. About a month later, she announced her pregnancy in the middle of Jake's graduation party. Everyone congratulated her, but Steven and Susan, Jake and Heather's parents, gave her a disappointed look because she stole the spotlight from Jake. I gave her a slight frown as well, but congratulated her anyway because I still wanted to get on her good side. But she burst into tears anyway because she knew Susan was going to have a chat with her after the party about how Jake is her brother and how she shouldn't take his spotlight because it's his day. After her first hellspawn was born, a boy, things just got worse with Heather. She eventually got married to a man named Brad. Brad was an okay guy, but he always enabled her actions as well. On their wedding day, Heather made a 45-minute speech about the wedding and how they met and stuff. But now to the juicy stuff. The day Jake and I got married, Heather gave me dirty looks the entire time while treating the waiters like slaves and making a complete butt of herself the whole time. I tried holding back my laughter when Susan told her to either stop being a butthole to her own brother's wedding guests and waitstaff, or she can leave, which she did. She left and flipped over the table with a few extra wedding presents on it before she left with Brad and her 3 kids. But we all carried on after everything was fixed. When it came to my first pregnancy announcement, everyone was ecstatic, but Heather pulled me aside and told me she wished I lost the baby and that it's my fault her parents hate her now. I immediately started sobbing, which caused a lot of suspicion. Jake asked her what she said about me and blatantly lied to his face. I told him later that night what she told me that day and he was livid. He called her to yell at her and I told him afterward that there's no point because that's just gonna fuel her ego. So he agreed and we went to bed. My entire pregnancy was awful. I barely kept anything down and almost fainted twice within 8 months. But the day arrived where I had to give birth, and it came out stillborn. We were devastated. Suddenly, Heather said out loud the words I still dread to this day. "Aw, that sucks, but you could always babysit my little angels. They love their aunt so much, and besides, you could always have another baby." The thing about her kids were that they were nice when they wanted something, but when we told them no, they would lose their minds. Anything they would do, they got away with. If me or Jake punished them while they were under our care, Heather would lose her cool and threaten to call the police on us for child abuse, which never happened, but she did have us fooled the first 2 times she threatened to do so. What Heather said about my lost baby set Susan off. She pulled Heather aside and verbally ripped her a new one. I sat there on the bed bawling my eyes out. How could anyone say that when they just lost their baby? It was insane. I had lost so much respect for Heather. I spent years kissing her butt because I had a kind heart, but I was not gonna be kind to her anymore. Some time went by, and after a couple more tries and 1 more baby lost, I almost lost all hope until our last child was born. Girl. Heather was pissed that my first living child was a girl, but knew she couldn't do anything because she already damaged her reputation as the golden child. The karma. Heather got pregnant again with her 4th child, which I supported, wished all the best for her and got her gifts, only to find out she threw them all away later on. But 7 months into her pregnancy, she had lost her baby. No one was with her in the delivery room except for Brad and her oldest kid. I felt kinda bad for her because I know how it feels to lose a child, but it became hard too because of all those years of her torment towards me and Jake. I ended up having another child after a couple of years, which was another girl, and Jake and I are living happily without Heather ever contacting us ever since she lost her baby. This should be a lesson to everyone that karma is a bee, and you should treat people the way you want to be treated, because if you wish something bad on someone, it may backfire on you too. I'm not going to comment on losing a child because I've never lost one myself and I can't imagine what that feels like. What I can comment on though is how much of a butthole that woman is. OP, tell your friend who had this story that they can write these people out of their lives. You're born into a family, but you don't have to stay in that family. You can choose who your family is. Check out both OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.